Dr. Barry Goldstein is a physician and a biophysicist. He's a visiting professor at Williams College, and he makes his home in North Adams. He's also a photographer specializing in portraiture and documentary themes. And this summer, he visited Cleveland and Philadelphia to chronicle the events at and around the Republican and Democratic national conventions. When he came in to share some of his work with us, I asked what attracted him to the conventions.
I would say if there's a theme about my work, it's trying to look at groups of individuals who we tend to characterize with broad strokes and look for the differences, show that these people are in fact individuals, what makes them tick, and show their faces.
Let's start taking a look at some of the photos. We're going to start with the Republican convention, and in many cases, you also asked people to talk with you, and you recorded audio. First one we're going to look at is, and I know as you said, she's basically a libertarian. Her name is Amy Hedke. And you know what, let's listen to what she says and what you talk about meeting and working with her.
Don't need anybody out there telling us what we got to do until you're like me, you're now an anarchist working within the Republican Party. You know, it's like I can't vote for anybody because I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to sanction putting somebody else in charge of somebody else. You know, and unfortunately that's what our elections do. Is, you know, they say consent to the governed, but if you don't consent, you get governed anyway. And yeah, they will govern your butt right into jail.
I think this brief clip from a obviously longer interview definitely captures Amy's joie de vivre. She was very much a libertarian. She was a Cruz supporter. She was definitely not a Trump supporter. And she had an army of colleagues who she would come and consult with her, and she'd send them back onto the floor with all sorts of strategies. She's a single mom with I think 3 or 4 kids, all homeschooled. And a very interesting, very independent woman from Texas.
Let's go to Philadelphia for a bit. There was a difference. The Democratic and Republican national conventions, you had full security clearance to go into and around the Republican convention. The Democratic convention, which is much bigger than a Republican convention in terms of everything, the media that arrives and the number of delegates, almost twice as many, you were not able to get full media credentials there. So you covered events outside, which, by the way, is a full-time job at a national convention. A picture of a young woman. She's got a Bernie Sanders button on. She's at a demonstration. Many of the Bernie Sanders people at the convention, whether they were inside as delegates or outside, were very concerned, very upset, thought they really hadn't gotten a fair deal. And talk about the kind of people you met at some of the street demonstrations that you covered and photoed.
Yeah, I would say this image is fairly representative of the age of many of the demonstrators, although they really did cover the gamut. The thing that really made an impression on me versus what I saw in Cleveland, even among the demonstrators, was the level of anger that existed among the demonstrators in Philadelphia. People were really enraged. They, by and large, were Bernie supporters, and the phrase you kept hearing was, he was robbed. And so, yeah, there was a lot of anger.
Let's look at a couple of young people you met. A young man by the name of Jake Ellis and a young woman, Deja Capers. And they've got a sign that I'll let you explain the sign. We don't see it completely, and I think wisely you cropped it a little bit because we want to put up the sign. But then, well, you know what, before we do that, let's listen to them, and then I'll let you talk about them.
The sign's meant to draw parallels between the neoconservative movement and a lot of what happened, the rhetoric in the 1930s of the rise of Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler. It's meant to be a little provocative, it's a little disturbing, but I think with a lot of what's happened this political season, it's appropriate, kind of fits the tone.
I don't like it, honestly. It's very hateful to me. I don't like the sign. I don't like the symbol, what it stands for.
Fascinating young people, a real sense of history there, and a political debate right there between these two young people.
Deja is, at least at that time, Jake's girlfriend. what you don't hear in the clip is she actually made the sign for him, even though she disagreed with the symbolism. And in fact, when I saw them from across the park, I saw, as most people did, this large red swastika. And of course, immediately, we're all thinking, you know, the worst. This is some far right-wing person. And then when you get close and read the sign, so it draws you in, and then you get close and read the sign, you see what's really happening here.
Fascinating. Let's go to this picture. Stopped me in my tracks. Next one, you're back in Cleveland, I believe, at the Republican convention. Police in amazing full modernistic body armor, and this one police officer. I think you really get a sense of what they're up against and what they're fearing.
Yeah, the police presence in Cleveland was enormous. There were police from as far away as California coming to aid the Cleveland police. In fact, most demonstrations, the police presence outnumbered the protesters, unlike in Philadelphia, which was handled totally by the Philadelphia police. In both cases, I think the behavior of the police was perfectly professional. Philadelphia, I think they really bent over backwards to accommodate the protesters. But yeah, that photo shows you just the variety of types of officers. They had mounted officers. They had armored bicycle officers, as you saw there. They had people in all sorts of gear, clearly making a statement.
At these two events, in these two cities, you met people from across the political spectrum. What's your sense as you come away and get a little perspective, couple of months' time, on this, where America is and where we're heading? Not too huge a loaded question for anybody.
Well, I'm laughing because, of course, I'm laughing because otherwise I'd be crying. You know, we're clearly a grossly divided country. You know, I think the first election I voted in was Nixon, who I didn't vote for. And I've never seen anything like this, as many people have said. And again, the concerns that I hear among most of what I call the rational people, which was most of the people that I spoke with. I mean, there were nut jobs in both conventions that I met, and this is not a false equivalence. I mean, people who come to these tend to be pretty extreme. But what was very different were the assumptions about how these problems, employment, student debt, security, immigration, were going to be solved. So.
Well, Dr. Barry Goldstein, thanks for sharing some of your creations with us and some of your perspective. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.